From in the beginning to the musical apocalypse, this is The Bible Says What. I'm your host, Mike Wiseman. Jesus test. Claim, Jesus helped me do this. Question, has anyone ever done this without the help of Jesus? Answer, yes. Then Jesus is not just unverifiable as the cause, but also completely unnecessary. Let's start the show.
Is there anything in the Bible that you yourself have an issue with? Okay, so it took you reading the Bible to realize that those things were bad for you?
Yeah, it actually did. I
Couldn't
didn't
figure this out on your own?
No, Ted Bundy could be redeemed. God doesn't kill children.
What do you think the Passover was? Yahweh sets up a whole system in the Old Testament where you slaughter animals just so he's able to forgive you.
Today's special guest is a mentor at Prodigals, Logan Hufford. Welcome to the show, Logan.
Hey, Michael. Glad to be talking to you.
Thanks for coming on. Thanks for taking the time. Tell us a little bit about what you do there. What it is, too, for those.
Prodigals is a group for men struggling with sexual addiction. So it's a Christ-centered 12-step recovery group. I was introduced to it in March of 2016, and at that time I was a raging sex addict. I can get into what that looked like, but it literally went from porn to affairs and prostitutes and everything in between. Mostly while I was married, had kids, from late teens through my 20s, and March of 2016, God showed me something that I had never seen before, which was men that had healing, that had stories like mine and had healing. And that was at a Prodigals group in Anchorage, Alaska. And I'm giving you like the super aerial.
You're good, yeah.
So at this point now, 8 years later, I'm incredibly blessed to, I lead a group, just a sister chapter of Prodigals out in Wasilla, which is an hour north where I live. And I lead a Prodigals group. And then my wife, she got in recovery shortly after I did for healing from the sexual betrayal trauma of everything that I had put her through and all that. And so she now leads a group for women that need that healing. That is what we do. That is our life.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. So as far as that goes, where does the God part fit into this? Where does he take place in all this?
Yeah. So I was raised going to church, learned about the Bible, Sunday school, Bible studies, talking about that, with my family. Always had that head knowledge. And I mean, me personally, I've always believed that God is real, that God created the universe. I've always believed that Jesus was a real human, that was God taking human form. I've always believed those things. Mostly because, it seems to make enough sense, and that's what everyone around me believes. But I never felt any intimacy. I never felt any relationship. And then, by the time I'm 19, cheating on my future wife, and then I'm 21, 22, 23, 20, I got myself into this place where I'm going, well, I still believe that God's real, but I guess that's not for me. I guess I screwed that up. I can't have a good life. I can't have any relationship with a savior. I believe that he saved others, but he can't save me. I've done too much.
Let's dive into that for a second there. Though. He can't save you because you've done too much. Explain that a little bit.
Because it's this battle between head knowledge and then actual belief. Like I believe that the Bible is true. I believe that there's people in the Bible that did terrible, terrible things, and yet, God calls them men of faith.
Did you believe this at the time?
Yes, head knowledge, absolutely. But in my heart, like my actual, like the things that I would go on to do, which is like that's a actionable belief. It's like, well, I guess for some reason I must be so screwed up that I just must be a different level of screwed up, because I can't seem to stop doing this. I would confess, and God, I'm so sorry. I'd confess to my wife, Carrie, I'm so sorry. But I wouldn't actually, do anything different.
So you wouldn't change your actions.
Yeah, it was this false
you would
resolve.
recognize the issue, but you wouldn't change the actions.
Yeah.
So when did the action changing start for you?
Yeah. It definitely was not a toggle switch getting flipped off. I'll tell you that for sure.
Sometimes change is slow. Yeah. And
right.
sometimes habits and addictions are difficult. So yeah, I mean, it's not a switch for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And even then it's like, things affect different people differently, right? Like I smoked for most of this time. I was a smoker. I wasn't doing multiple packs a day, but I was smoking every day at work. I would go through, a few packs a week.
Yeah.
And I did that for quite a few years, for 6 years. And I told some friends, I was like, I'm not gonna smoke anymore. And my buddy was like, yeah, we'll see. You'll see how that turns out. Never had another cigarette.
Nice job. Nice job.
So it's like, with that,
that's tough.
Okay,
yeah.
That was a toggle switch. Now, I even in the middle of all my unhealthy stuff, I never would have told you I'm addicted to cigarettes the way that I'm addicted to porn and, sexual.
Different kind of addiction.
Right.
Some people have stronger addictions in different areas. Like chocolate cake for me is not that great of an addiction, but beer is my thing.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Oreos. I don't buy Oreos. I can't.
Those little thin ones. The lemon. Don't get me started.
Don't say lemon. So I mean, it's different things have different holds, right? And also that was geographically localized. I smoked at work. I didn't smoke at home. There were a lot of, so it was easier to do that. But with this, you asked, when did the change start to happen?
Yeah, when did you start to realize that you needed to make this change, and then that actually started to fill in or fit in or happen?
So I look at it in terms of landmarks. Like there were landmarks in my story and in our story with me and my wife. And the first one was July of 2015. I had another affair. So I had multiple affairs from 2010 through July of 2015. So through 2015.
Gross, man. You had a lot. Yeah.
And it's just this hell on earth kind of thing. And July of 2015, my wife says, okay, if you don't make serious change, I'm gone. And the kids are gone. So She gave me an ultimatum, and she'd never done that before.
Yeah.
And so at that point, I was like, okay, I believed her.
Yeah.
And I started to do some things. I started to go to some meetings. Yeah. I started to, and at one point I had 4 months of not acting out, 4 months of sobriety, but I hadn't actually experienced any healing, any transformation. And I was just really, like, looking back, I was white knuckling, like, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. Had a bad day at work, went back to pornography, November of 2015. And then boom, I was just like right back into the old ways for several months. But in March, that's when I went to a prodigals meeting. And then still played around. May 19th is my sobriety date.
Did your wife know during that time?
So in terms of during that, between the ultimatum
and when you were still dabbling.
Yeah. So she knew that I was doing some things, which, at whether healthy or not, she knew that I was trying, I was willing, I was doing some things differently. So whether she should have been like, nope, zero tolerance, you're doing anything, boom, you're done.
There was an ultimatum. I mean,
right.
And you were doing some pretty messed up things there. Yeah.
And so in May of 2016, finally started to truly get serious, started to get some serious traction, got into
just so we're clarification on this, the adult films versus another person.
Yeah.
Are we another person, or are we just the adult films?
So in terms of that,
the cheating part,
ultimatum and May 19th.
No, like in general, the cheating part. Are you counting the adult films as the cheating, or another person?
So absolutely. I mean, adult films, stuff on the phone. I mean, all of that.
But was there another person involved, a physical person?
Yes.
Okay, so that's another level. Okay, so I'm just
Yeah,
making sure that it wasn't just the film watching that you were so.
no,
Um,
it was
yeah.
that, it was other people, it was the whole gamut.
Okay. So gross. Back to gross. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah. Oh, I was super gross. I was a monster.
Yeah.
I mean, it was terrible.
So what was the change? So it wasn't the wife's ultimatum that made you change.
That made me scared enough to go, okay, I gotta do something
Do
different.
something. Okay, and your doing something was going to the prodigals meeting.
Well, I mean, at first it was going to a meeting at all.
Okay.
So, I mean, I went to an SAA meeting. It's like AA, Sex Addiction Anonymous. So it's, you know, it's like AA in the sense that it's not religious based, it's not Christ based. It's, you know, it's something. There's some structure there.
Right. And that didn't work.
Right. And a big thing that was missing there was there wasn't really healing in that room. It was a small group of guys. And I'm very thankful for any guy that's willing to, you know, try to give back and lead others. Like I'm thankful for that, because that's not easy. But just as a level of practicality, it was like the guy leading it had like, I think like a year and a half of sobriety, but it had like so much broken trust with his wife that she wouldn't let him give out his phone number to guys. He wouldn't like meet up with guys, you know, outside of the meeting to talk. The other guys, they were kind of like me. Just,
don't blame her. I mean,
right. It's just tough. So it's like, there wasn't like a lot of healing to go, okay, I want what that guy has.
Gotcha. So it wasn't for you. That wasn't your flavor of meeting. So the next one was.
Yeah. In March, I saw something very different. I saw guys that had years of not just sobriety, not just not doing the bad stuff, but actual healing, actual transformed marriages. Where,
what do you mean by healing? Yeah. Where?
Yeah. So I mean, guys that could live their life in a healthy way and could interact with other people, other women, their wives in a raw and genuine but healthy way.
So that addiction was gone at this location, but you didn't feel the addiction was gone at the other location.
So I'm not comfortable with the verbiage of like the addiction is gone or he was healed, that kind of thing.
You said healed, but I mean, is the addiction healed?
So here's what I would say. So me, Logan Hufford, May 30th, 2024, I am no longer in bondage to sexual addiction.
Is that healed, or is that what is that?
It means I'm no longer trapped. So
is that healed though? Because you did mention healed several times. I just want to make sure.
There was healing. There was a lot of healing.
But you're not healed. So, are you still healing?
I think there's always going to be healing. Yeah. There's always going to be healing. I had trained myself to basically have this like corrupted, nasty exoskeleton of like trying to protect myself by treating the world around me really crappy. And that took a lot of time to build. It's going to take a lot of time to work through. So, you know, what day will I be healed from that? I don't know that day exists, but has there been a ton of healing? Absolutely.
So this meeting, there was healing going on. The other meeting, there was not as much healing. You saw more.
Not that I could see. Yeah. And again, and I want to be fair. I was not a healthy person, so my perspective maybe doesn't count for much, right?
Right. Well, that just didn't work for you. I mean, everybody's got their own flavors of sauces that work for them. Mine is not horseradish. That's just the way it is. So what was it different here? So they were healing. Was it the men in their way of thinking that was beneficial to you? What was it specifically?
Well, so a very practical difference is this. Most recovery groups, I haven't been to them all, but I've been to a lot. Most recovery groups, they want it to be a safe space. I understand that. They want it, they want you to feel free to be vulnerable. I understand that. Those are reasonable. But they almost always don't allow for crosstalk. They don't allow for, if you and I are at this meeting and I share how my day has gone or how my week has gone. Hey, Logan, thanks for sharing. Okay, now it's Michael's turn. That doesn't sound unreasonable, but here's what it doesn't allow for. After I share how my day has gone or my week has gone, you're not allowed to ask me clarifying questions. You're not allowed to give me advice. You're not allowed to give me feedback. And for me, and I think a lot of other guys like me, but definitely for me, I was a manipulator. I was a liar. I was, you know, really good at working the room and getting my way and telling little half truths, you know. So excuse me. I did not need a safe space that was safe from tough feedback. I didn't need a comfortable space. And at this group Prodigals, like, was it safe? Was it loving? Yeah, absolutely. But guys would call me out on my crap. They'd be like, Logan, like, you've been saying this for the last 5 weeks, but like, you're not actually doing anything different in your routine. Or, hey, 2 weeks ago you said you were doing this, and then now you're saying, like, these two things don't match up. What's going on, Logan? And they would hold my feet to the fire. They would call me out on my BS, and I needed that.
And so again, people. Well, where does God fit into this? Because I'm seeing a lot of people, and it's awesome because I am definitely for that. People helping people. I mean, holy cow! If we can't help each other out, who's going to do it?
Yeah.
The dogs? Well, only in small amount. But anyways, so where does God fit into this? I'm just seeing, again, people helping people, and that's amazing. But
So again,
where does God fit in?
That's the giant practical difference, right? Was the allowance for feedback. I mean, there were other things, but that's a core part of it. And then the other part is, and I'm not going to be able to quantify this very well, but prodigals being Christ-centered, that was a huge difference. That it was not this, okay, if God's your doorknob, if God's the sun, if God is the grass, like, your higher power can be your dog. For me, I mean, I believe that God is real. I believe that God is the creator.
Right. You believed it beforehand. So when they had that belief as well, that kind of clicked with you, and it's kind of your niche. So makes sense.
It absolutely was. There were a lot of practical differences, but because it was centered around faith in Christ, faith in,
a belief
in the Savior of the universe is also the one who can give me true healing from these things and help me work through all the crap that beyond just not looking at porn or not flirting with people or not being inappropriate, all the other unhealthy parts of how I interacted with the world around me.
You see what just happened there, though? You were, it was all the people are helping you do this. The guys are calling you out on your crap. And then all of a sudden now it's God, the one he's calling you out on your crap. And the God is the one doing the healing. But you were doing the healing. The men were helping you with that healing. They were helping you recognize when you were saying crap that shouldn't have been said. Right. Again, the God just gets thrown in there, but it's all people.
God absolutely.
What specifically did he do?
So I don't have a physical miracle story. I don't have a, suddenly this dove appeared and then this thing happened. I don't have a story like that. But I mean, I absolutely believe that God uses people, and I believe the Bible that God uses people throughout. There's lots of times in Scripture where God does do a miraculous thing.
Those are stories, though. I mean, those are stories of things that happen. We'll get into that, of course. But I mean, this is real life right now, outside of the Bible. Right. When we can do it ourselves, such as overcome addiction ourselves, we've seen people do it. Atheists do it, Buddhists do it, Muslims do it, Hindus do it. They all do it, but without the help of the Christian God. So if it's able to be done without that, then he's unverifiable as the cause, and completely unnecessary at that point. If we're able to do it ourselves.
So I have met. I mean, this is gonna be tricky because I mean, I get data and I get, hey, I want the physical tangible proof. I completely get that. So some of the stuff that I'm going to say, I'm not going to pretend to be able to quantify it perfectly. But I have met a lot of people in a lot of different types of recovery, whether it's, this niche, different substances, alcohol, whatever. When it is not, and it's two things, when it's not Christ-centered recovery, when it is healing through just science, healing through just some practical measures, and also when it is lightweight, because I mean I've been to Christ-based recovery groups that are relatively lightweight. When it is not both of those things, there's a one-dimensional sobriety. There's a one-dimensional transformation that I see all over the place. And again, that's anecdotal. I don't have a research paper that's,
it's very subjective. Yeah.
100%, 100%.
Yeah. So let's not claim that as truth for sure.
Well, I mean, again, I'm not here saying, you should believe me just because I said that, but I mean, that's absolutely something that I have seen over the
Something
course
that
of
you
several
see.
years
Yeah.
over a lot of people.
Yeah. And I want to kind of get back to that stuff that you see and believe. You said you've always believed. And the reason why was because it makes sense.
In terms of like the head knowledge stuff.
Yeah, the God stuff in general. You've always believed in the God and the Jesus and all that. So which part of it to you makes sense? Help me understand which part makes sense.
So maybe, I mean, I guess the biggest picture, place to start is as far as how any of this came to be.
Creation.
Right. I
Gotcha.
completely understand if somebody goes, wait, you want me to believe that an infinite God who never was created and never will stop being, that he's always been, and then and then he spoke into existence. Like, man, that's a lot for me to believe.
That's just
completely
the very tip of the iceberg of the things that are a lot to believe.
For sure, but that's kind of the start of it, right? I mean, so
part of it.
I grant you that. I would never, share the gospel or share Christianity with somebody because, hey, it's all simple and easy to understand. It's not simple and easy to understand by launch. I don't think so. But I also, when I'm talking about the creation of the universe, when I'm talking about time starting, the biggest picture of all questions. I mean, it's a cliche little Facebook meme, but it's kind of true. It's like the idea that I don't have enough faith to believe that it was also just a Big Bang. I don't have enough faith for that either.
What does that mean? You don't have enough faith to believe that, but you have enough faith to believe it was spoken into existence, but not enough faith to believe it was blown up into existence.
Meme, right? Like it takes a lot of faith either way.
How does that take faith? One has evidence that it happened. The other one has a book says it happened.
The evidence for the Big Bang, you're saying?
We have evidence of a Big Bang, do we not?
Subjective.
Ooh, scientific evidence is not subjective, but that's okay.
Okay.
Let's go back to Genesis. So breathed into existence. Is there any part of Genesis that you have an issue with? Do you believe 1, 2, 3, as far as the creation parts are accurate?
I believe that it's all accurate.
Gotcha. So as far as when it starts to talk about days, do you remember that part?
Yep. As far as
days before the sun was made. Just little things like that. So do you remember that part?
As far as like, are you asking
how many days had passed before the sun was made? Yeah.
Like,
how does that work for you?
I don't know. And the beautiful part is that, I mean, that I don't know. And I'm not going to pretend to know. I mean, I believe in the Trinity. That's
you do know.
Concept to,
right. As far as the creation part goes, you would say that you know that God created it, correct?
I absolutely believe that God created it. Yeah.
But would you say that you know it?
No. I mean, I do believe in the power of verbiage, and know is a tricky word. I associate know with I have seen physical evidence of something. And I mean, I'm looking out, I see the grass.
Certainty. How certain are you that God created the universe?
I am certain, yes.
Okay. What percentage of certainty would you say?
I'm 100% certain.
100%. So you're sure, you know this happened. It's 100% certain. Like if I'm 100% certain about something, I know it. I don't know. Okay. So as far as the verses 1 and 2 or chapters 1 and 2, which one do you believe is accurate? Because there are two different stories here. We got man and woman created at different times, animals created at different times. So which one would you say is the accurate version of the creation?
Because there can be no day without sun. Is that what you're saying?
No. See if I can pull it up here. Genesis 1:27. Yahweh created man and women after he created all the animals. But in Genesis 2:2, which is chapter 2, Yahweh claims that he created Adam first, then the animals to see if he can find a companion there, and then he created Eve. So we've got two different storylines, two different variations of events there. So how can we tell which one is accurate as far as the creation of the universe?
So you said 1:27, was it?
Correct. Yeah, Genesis 1:27 versus Genesis 2:22. 2 altogether. 2 starts with God creating Adam and then trying to find a companion for him. That's not how it works in Genesis 1. So definitely two different stories there. So how are we supposed to know with certainty how it was done?
So, and again, just like we talked about, I mean, there's a huge disclaimer that I'm not pretending to be a Bible scholar, right? I'm
Yeah,
not
it's just
pretending
in there. I mean, this is just basic reading
No, I know,
chapter
but as
1
far
and
as
2, of the
for me,
homework.
I don't have the recall to go, okay, I'm gonna go back to that verse and picture it in my brain.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, no, no.
I,
Yeah, no,
I
you're
don't.
fine. You're fine. But I mean, you've read the Bible. You've read it through. When you read it through, did you have any issues with it? Anywhere in there that you kind of stopped and went, that's weird?
Well, so this may not be what you're asking, but it's definitely an answer to it's definitely a answer to what you're asking. There's all kinds of things in the Bible that I go, man, that's tough to read. Man, I don't
Yeah.
enjoy reading that. I don't like that.
Well,
Now,
do
again,
you
that's
believe
maybe
it's
a different question.
no? It's good. No, it's good. Is there anyone you can remember off the top of your head?
As far as things that I'm going like, man, I don't like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, there's a couple that are coming to my mind right now. So I don't like, I mean, in some ways there's a beautiful way to interpret it. And it's also like, holy crap, I don't like that. God asking Abraham to sacrifice his son Isaac, right? To as a test. I don't enjoy that. I don't like that. I would not wish that on anyone.
What part don't you like about that?
Because I'm like, man, was he like? It's just it seems like a terrible position to be in. And I can
Definitely.
the counter is, well, God was never going to let him do that.
Right.
It was a test, and okay, and I don't know.
Why was it a test? Does God not know the hearts and thoughts of Abraham?
Well, I mean, the Bible's filled with God testing people to allow them to choose.
Interesting.
Right or
Is that a
wrong,
way
to
you would test
choose
somebody?
faithfulness.
Is that like a good idea to test somebody in that manner?
So I mean, that's a road that I'm not going to go down very far, in the sense of I am not going to pretend that I know better than God in terms of when I do that. I mean, well, because people will do that. They go, well, we are God's children, and so God, would you do that with your child?
Would you?
I
mean,
am not the creator of the universe.
Right. He's supposed to be the ultimate father figure, though, at this point. He's our source of morality, so to speak, apparently. If he's doing things in this grotesque manner, how can he be the source of morality? How can all of his actions be good when he's, drowning children in the flood, or causing suffering before he kills the baby of Bathsheba and David? Just all the just weird things he does. That's the horrible, weird things he does.
Like I said, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to understand what it is to be God.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now, if I was God, I would not flood the earth. I wouldn't drown all the babies and puppies. That doesn't make any sense to me. So, Jesus. Who is Jesus to you?
Jesus is the Son of God, which again, I mean, for good radio, don't ask me too much about the Trinity, because I do not pretend to understand how that works.
Weird. It's every Christian I talk to can't explain the Trinity. It's the weirdest thing.
Yep. But I mean, Jesus is the Son of God.
Jesus as a person, separate. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And I absolutely believe that Jesus came to earth as a human. And he lived out a human life for it was 33 years. And I mean, I guess what are you looking for? So my understanding of him as when he was a human on earth, or
was he? I don't know. That's good enough. I mean, he's part of the Trinity, so we got that. Right. So he's God's son. Do you believe that his death wiped out sin, or conquered sin, as my grandparents love to say?
Correct. Right. I believe.
What does conquered sin mean to you?
Conquered sin is sin no longer has to mean condemnation for people that commit sin. that if I sin, I can confess my sin. I can be forgiven of my sin.
Forgiven of your sin. So before Jesus died, we couldn't be forgiven of the sin.
So that's another one that I know that there are people that could explain better than I could, but
just what you believe. I mean, just
well, so I mean, because in terms of like when Abraham died, when Moses died, I mean, men that God calls a man of God, a man of faith. When David died, like where did he go? What did he have to wait? Does he have to wait? Like I don't know.
Right.
I don't.
There's just more things that don't make sense. It's just what it's adding up to here. It's just more things that just don't add up.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that I don't understand. Yeah.
Yeah. So Jesus conquered sin, but because he had to, because we don't know what happened otherwise. We don't know what happened otherwise. So why did God need Jesus to conquer the sin? Why could God not just conquer sin? Why did he need Jesus?
Again, I feel a little bit. I'm okay answering. I feel like, man, I don't know that I'm serving your audience very well because I'm not an expert on this. I am.
No, these are just basic questions. I mean, they come up with just the religion itself. I mean, you've got Jesus. Well, why did he die? Well, why did this happen? Well, why did that happen? We don't know why this happened. Well, it doesn't make any sense why it happened.
Right.
I mean, if we can't, I don't know. It doesn't add up for me, Logan. And it's not, I got lots of questions. I just don't have answers apparently.
No, and I'm not. I have no problem with you asking the questions and with me answering. I feel just from like a practical standpoint, I feel kind of bad against like bad radio. There's like,
oh no, you're fine. No. Long pauses and I don't knows are my favorite. So you're good.
I got you. So why did God need Jesus to?
Why did he need Jesus? Why didn't he just forgive instead of like we can? I can forgive you. Like if you accidentally ran over my dog, I'd be pissed. We'd have some words, but I would ultimately forgive you if it was an accident.
Right.
Yeah.
So without Jesus's sacrifice, my understanding is that we all were condemned. We would all be condemned to hell. We would all be condemned.
Who's condemning us? God, right? God. Just make sure. God's condemning us.
Anyone who has sinned, which is everyone.
Which everybody, according to God. So according to his viewpoint, we've all sinned, and now we need to be saved from him because we've all sinned against him. Right. So he sends Jesus. Why? Right. Why can't he just, hey, you know what? I know you sinned against me. I've created this whole idea of sinning against me, and now I forgive you for this thing. No. He needs bloodshed. Hebrews 9:22, without the shedding of blood, there is no forgiveness. So, I mean, that's gross, number one.
So, I mean,
we normal humans don't do that.
Jesus was the perfect sacrifice. I mean, he was a human without sin.
Right. Why, though? Why does God need this perfect blood in order to forgive people? That's such a weird thing.
I don't know. It may be.
Does it make sense to you, though?
The only way it makes sense in a tangible way is, I mean, and this might sound crass, and I could be totally wrong, but I mean, maybe we need imagery. Maybe we as humans, we respond to imagery. We respond to examples. I don't know if that's
I don't know about that. Thanks for trying, though.
I mean, I do think there's something. I think humans respond to imagery, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a but there. There's an extreme version of responding to imagery, and then there's simply just talking to an adult,
like
as
God
opposed to
his fingers and we
the extremeness of it. He can come down and talk to us.
Right.
I don't know. Big an idea. You could do that.
I mean, there's also lots of times that God talked to people and gave people a chance. And
when? Bible? Is it the Bible though? Or
absolutely.
Yeah. See, that's just, again, the stories, these are unverifiable. I wasn't there. Right. I don't know. I know people in the old times made lots of stories up. So how am I supposed to believe that? And it contradicts itself. It kind of runs over itself in chapter 1 and 2, right in the beginning. In the beginning, we've contradicted ourselves. So it makes it hard. It makes it difficult for me, And then we've got the guy who is supposed to be the great father figure telling Abraham to go kill his son because he needs him to test his loyalty. I don't know. I don't see that as a good thing either. I'm not seeing any of the good stuff here. Where's the good
Yeah.
stuff? Logan, show me the good stuff.
So when I think about, I mean, I guess you don't want me to use the Bible as good stuff, or
No, you can use the Bible as good stuff. Yeah, no. I mean,
Okay.
I can't take it as fact because
Sure.
of the issues with it. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, redemption is good stuff.
Redemption is good stuff.
is a beautiful
It depends on how the redemption comes, though. If I need you to kill a kid to redeem yourself, that's not really a good kind of redemption, right? If I need you to slaughter somebody in order to redeem yourself, that's not a good thing. The good guy in the story doesn't ask somebody to, die as a sacrifice for forgiveness.
Right.
Yeah.
In terms of, are you talking about Abraham or are you talking about Jesus?
In general.
Well, I mean, again, that in terms of, I mean, Abraham, that was not redemption. That was as far as I understand, it was a test of.
Yeah, pointless test. God knew his heart. God knew what was going to happen.
Right.
I mean, God knew Abraham was going to kill his son for him if he wanted him to, which is, again, gross.
I mean, the redemption of me sinning, of having a life of sin, of Paul says I was the chief of all sinners. Peter denying Christ. Redemption of somebody submitting themselves to God, me submitting myself to God. God not just forgiving my sin, but providing true healing, which again, I mean, we can argue about,
How he did it, though, Logan. It's how he did it. It's how he's able to forgive your sin that I find grotesque and unnecessary. The bloodshed in general. All through the Old Testament, he wants animals killed so he's able to forgive people. He wants them to be burnt up. He wants them cut. He wants blood on the ears. He wants blood on your toe. He wants blood on the corners of the thingy. Now he wants the blood of his son. He wants that to be spilled, and everybody has to be washed away in this blood, and it's so gross and weird. It's so uncivilized of a being. It's very ancient deity type thing. And that's kind of where he's going to stay until, I hear otherwise from him or, something convincing. I mean, I still don't hear the good. I still, yes, he can forgive, but guess what? He needs bloodshed to do it. I can forgive you, Logan. I don't need any bloodshed. I can just do it. Like, it may take time. That's what I need. I need time. That's all I need is some time.
Well, and I don't know what good I can show you or give you without it being, I mean, I realize that I didn't, without it coming from scripture or coming from things that.
Yeah, again, you can show me the scripture. I just can't take the scripture as a true thing that actually happened, like history. I can't take it as historical evidence for a thing, but you can use it as an allegory or an idea of showing me the loving part of God or the good parts there. But again, the sacrifice and having bloodshed, I can't get around that being a good thing.
I mean, so you talk about Jesus. I mean, Jesus's life was filled with good stuff.
He also had some bad stuff. He wasn't 100% perfect, but he did some good stuff, like love your neighbor. Great stuff. Didn't come from him, though. He borrowed it from people before him. I mean, that's okay. It's a good message, though.
The woman caught in adultery and who among you is innocent. I mean,
not part of the original Bible. It was added later, so it probably wasn't even a real story about Jesus. But for
you, that shouldn't matter, though, right?
What about the fig tree? What about the fig tree? What about that story? Remember that story when Jesus was hangry in the morning, didn't have any figs in the tree, it was out of season. Yeah, and he cursed it. Yeah. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
Yeah. All right. So if I was Jesus and I had all the powers of Jesus and I came upon a fig tree and it wasn't producing figs, and I knew that it wasn't even the season for figs, I might have lashed out, but what I would have ultimately done is I would have made that thing grow so big that everybody in the village had figs for the rest of their lives. It would have just kept producing figs. As many as you need, you pluck one, there's another one. Look at that. Amazing. What Jesus decided to do was he cursed it. He cursed a tree for being out of season that he knew was out of season. Why? Because he was hungry. It says so in the beginning of the story. Jesus was hungry. I mean, I know I've been there. I've been hangry before. Then he goes to the temple. He still doesn't have any food and he turns over tables. Jesus was very hangry that day. So when Jesus lashes out with his anger, when the action becomes the problem, when he acts out on his anger by lifting the tables and throwing everybody out and whipping or whatever happened, that is lashing out. That is the anger and acting. And I don't see that as perfect. Also, I don't see cursing the fig tree as perfect.
I mean, as far as flipping over the tables, that's probably the one. I could be wrong. I'm thinking out loud. That's probably the one example from Jesus's life where I go, okay, if I were to just go do that, I mean, if I probably would be sinning doing that, because I doubt that I would have completely
the restraint.
Well, no, it was just I use the term righteous anger. Like most of I can be.
He's still angry though. Anger is a sin, right? Anger, being angry.
My point is, I mean, there is such a thing as righteous anger. I mean, the Bible talks about righteous anger. Very few times that I'm angry is it truly righteous. So more than likely, that's probably one thing where, yeah, I don't know that I would be doing that and keeping my ego in check or keeping my pride in check, keeping my selfishness in check.
There you go. His pride as well. You're in my Father's house. A little prideful there. Yeah. Well, I mean, nobody's more prideful than Yahweh.
God, that's not unhealthy pride. That I'm God. I mean,
why is that unhealthy pride? Why can God be prideful?
Because he's
and then not be prideful.
Sure. Well, it's. I mean, if he is the creator of the universe, he is the one who created all of this. He is allowed to have
pride. Cometh before the fall, he says, but then he's prideful. Why is it okay now for him? Because he's the best? Is that why it is? Because nobody can be better than God, so he's allowed to be prideful?
He's allowed to be prideful.
Without it being a bad thing.
Maybe. Could be.
So he's exempt. That rule doesn't apply to him.
I think, I mean, to put it that way, it feels like it's oversimplifying it, but I think there's something there.
Well, I kind of go to the slaughtering of the children. That doesn't apply to him because he's still a good person, right? Because, I mean, to me, drowning puppies, kittens, and babies makes you a bad person or a bad guy. But God is seen as a good guy even after he drowns babies, puppies, and kittens. So there's something there I'm missing. So he gets a pass for whatever he does. It's going to be a good thing, no matter how grotesque and horrible it is.
I mean, the Bible is filled with, like I said, it's filled with a lot of things. I'm going, that's not pretty. That's not fun. That's not cozy to read. Yeah. I mean, again, I don't know what we're talking about here. I am not somebody that's proclaiming myself to have.
You're a Bible believer, though, Logan. That's the point. Is you're a Bible believer, and these are parts of the Bible, and these are parts of the belief that comes with believing in Jesus and stuff. These are the questions that come up. There's so many. I got piles and piles, Logan, but we won't get into all of them today. We're pretty much done here. I did want to have you close out with your last words and where can we find you? Any comments, of course.
Yeah.
So
I mean, my whole purpose in going on a podcast right now is to shout from the rooftops that if somebody is stuck in a destructive lifestyle, specifically if they're stuck in a destructive lifestyle similar to what I was, where I felt like there's no way that I can stop doing this stuff. I'm trapped in this cave. That's how I always think of it. That there's a way out of that cave. There is a way to be done with that lifestyle, even though I didn't think that there could be. I didn't think that there could be trust rebuilt in a relationship. I didn't think that there could be any healing. That there is, and there's a lot of folks beyond just me that are testaments to that. I mean, because truly in my mid-20s, I thought that I'm screwed. There's no way I can stop doing this stuff.
Well, good job breaking addiction, man. Where can we find you at?
So pretty limited right now. I will have. I can send you the Instagram if you want to put in the show notes.
Yeah.
We spoke offline that, I'm in the middle of creating my Instagram. Given my history, I'm being super, super careful and intentional about making sure that if I'm going to do that, I'm going to do that very safely and have lots of accountability and stuff. So I'm in the middle of getting that set up, but I will have an Instagram by the time this episode is live.
Awesome. Yeah, just send me that. I'll put it on the show notes, so no worries there.
Absolutely.
All right, Logan. Thank you so much. This has been a blast. We'll stay in touch, man.
Thanks, Michael.
That's all the show there is for you today. Thanks for listening. As always, you can find all things BSW related on the show's website at thebiblesayswhat.com. If you like what you heard and want to help keep the recording light on, simply go to thebiblesayswhat.com and sign up to be a supporter of the show. Your episodic tithes of $1 or more will get you early access to each new episode on Wednesdays instead of Sundays. And no matter which platform you use to listen to your podcasts, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you won't miss out on the next episode. Until then, would you kindly share and review the show?